Hello. Well, it's a lovely sunny afternoon here, or evening, in late April. And here I am down in Rodborough Avenue, and I'm talking to
Jane Millichip and Paul Friedman.
And I thought it'd be quite interesting to get a different take on Rodborough from Jane and Paul. So far we've got lots of interviews with people in the 90s and the 70s and so on, and it would be great, I thought, to bring it full circle. So Jane, if I could ask you the first question, and how did you end up in Rodborough?
We ended up in Rodborough on the advice and consultation of a friend of ours who lives in Strad Valley. And we came to Stroud from New Zealand. We'd previously been Londoners for, 10, 12 years, something like that, and had spent 2 years in New Zealand. And we decided to come back to the UK. I had a job to come back to in London, but we didn't want to live in London anymore. Paul's family his sister and his mother had recently moved to Stroud, and we thought there is no place better. Unfortunately, we had no idea where to live within Stroud, so we contacted Beth, and she suggested we might like Rodborough. So we took that advice absolutely to the nth degree, and from New Zealand we sorted out a rental house and decided to come we also researched schools. There are 2 great schools in the area, and so we decided from New Zealand to come to Rodborough.
Right, that's quite fascinating, and thank you. The next perspective I'd like to put forward is that in some ways you're utterly modern because you commute up to London, but in some ways it could be argued you're a tradition. You carry on the tradition of the domestic system and the handloom weaver at home. So perhaps you could contribute some views on this combination of commuting and working from home.
Well, I work 4 days from London. I stay over 2 nights, and I work from home on a Wednesday, which means Paul works from home and looks after the kids when I'm not around. We do fear, and he also comes to London once a fortnight, which is for 2 very disorganised people a scarily organised lifestyle, and we do fear that one day we'll meet each other on the train to London and the kids will be home alone, but that's how we work it.
For people who don't understand the rigours and the self-discipline of home working, Paul, I wonder, you've just arrived with the mugs of coffee. Can you tell people what it's like to work from home?
At the moment it's very cold in our house, but it does take a certain amount of self-discipline not to potter around the house and actually to get through work, but I have quite a busy schedule and a heavy workload, so it takes me all my time just to get through what I have to do anyway. It's quite lonely sometimes working at home. It's quite isolating, so it takes an effort to get out and meet people, other people from Rodborough sometimes for coffee mornings. So it's a mixture of it, but the upsides are that you can potter when you want to and have a relative amount of freedom. I only work part-time, and it works out very well.
Okay, thanks. And I was up in Manchester last week, and when I got back, I walked out of Stroud railway station. I thought, well, how does it feel sometimes when you arrive at the station from busy old London, and then you walk through Warbridge and into the parish?
Oh, for me, the joy starts at Kemble. The train journey from London is fairly samey. I mean, once you get to Swindon, the countryside starts to open out and it gets more rural. But from Kemble onwards, it's an absolute joy. And I love it when the nights get lighter because it's not just darkness outside the train. So I'm starting to de-stress and relax from Kemble onwards, albeit on that dreadful 2-carriage train. And there are often commuters, cheap budge owl, but it's a fairly friendly train. And then the walk home is incredibly pleasant. It's a 5 to 7 minute walk, and I'm just so glad to be home when I get home. Not just to see the kids and to see Paul, but to be in Rodborough and be in Stroud.
I remember one morning seeing Paul. I think we were going to the 6:30 train on a dark winter's morning, and I noticed that you picked up on the footpath coming down through the fields. So the next question is, do you have a favourite walk around the parish or in the parish?
That walk through the woods, the adopted footpath down through from Rodborough Avenue back down to Bath Road, is a very short walk, but it is a favourite walk because it's kind of symbolic of living here and how different that is from living in London where we used to live. That we walk down there through the badger trails, and there's a chance that there are deer out there. Our neighbour next door had 2 deer in his garden who must have come across that path to get here somehow. So that's a nice walk. It's very short, and at the moment it's through the wild garlic at the bottom there, which is very nice. Other than that,
We don't get out to the common as much as we should, and I'd like to this summer.
we cycle to Nailsworth often with our boys, and that's on the cycle path, so maybe that's...
I mean, the ski slopes of Rodborough Common this winter were just fantastic, and we took the boys sledging just up to the top of the hill here, and they were sledging down from the fort at great speed. Paul had already gone up there, and I arrived just to watch Joe come flying down the hill and go skidding right under a car. Thankfully it was parked. But yeah, that was all quite scary stuff, but it was just fantastic. I mean, just beautiful thick snow.
And I have a dog walk that I do, which is this particularly pertinent to Rodborough Parish, really? Or?
Yeah, keep going.
But at the bottom, from the I don't know the hill name, where the hill comes down from the common near the real oak, along the canal path there, past the little pond with the swans on.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a nice walk.
Yeah.
Looking for,
And
with the boys, we look for trout in the rivers and things.
We often take the boys on the cycle path from here to Nailsworth as well.
That's cycling, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about people? Have they proved to be a welcoming bunch in the parish? I know we meet at the pub sometimes on a Friday night.
Yeah, it's been a very welcoming place to come to. This house used to belong to Bill, and Bill Hicks, and we met him when we were buying the house. We didn't know him from Adam because we'd only just, as we're officially known as blow-ins, we'd only just arrived. But within minutes, it seemed, the Jungle Telegraph had been set alight, and people were stopping us in the street saying, "Oh, are you the people buying Bill's place?" So everybody knew we were buying Bill's place before they knew us. The people we've met here, we knew a couple of people before we came, but very few. And I think the Prince Albert has been a social point for us. And last year we went camping with a few of you, including your good self, Stuart, and that's been fantastic. We know Jean and Pete through Pete's work, don't we, from Mark Derbyshire. And then we found this street particularly friendly. It's been great. There are 2 other families with kids more or less the same age as ours, Kate and John, and Mike and Sally. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, it's quite interesting, again, in terms of continuities, that you talked about, talking in the street, which a lot of more elderly people have talked about in terms of something that's disappearing. And I wonder if how much that happens in Rodborough Avenue in this day and age.
It happens a lot in Rodborough Avenue. We chat with our next door neighbours on both sides. We chat with the families that Jane mentioned with young children. We chat with the doctors who live up the road. Sometimes bump into Jeff and have a very brief exchange with Jeff. We've got to know our neighbour, she's our next door neighbour.
Yeah, sorry.
Got to know our neighbours diagonally opposite, and we're invited to their wedding this summer, just from chatting in the street. When we moved in, we had a very big housewarming party about Christmas time, where most of the people we'd met in the street came along, and we've sort of continued and followed up on some of those meetings since then, really. So yeah, I think there's a lot of that goes on here.
This evening was a good example of how children can make things easier for adults to get to know each other. And across the triangle of 3 houses with Kate and John and Sally and Mike, I was drawn into 3 different conversations by following my youngest son Joe around and through the various houses, and he was playing with the kids, and they started at one house and ended at the other. But we've always found that, well, since we've had children, we've been able to get to know the neighbours much better.
Well, I've got to toddle up the pub now, and I think we've drawn out there some of the changes, but also some of the continuities involved in this parish over the last century and a half. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paul and Jane.